Hi, and welcome to my stitch instruction videos. I am Terry Bay of Terry Bay Needlework Designs. This video is going to be the basics of the blanket stitch. Now in this one I'm just going to stitch blanket in a straight line, first left to right, then right to left, so you can see it both handed. And the further parts of the blanket stitch, such as changing the thread and turning corners and stuff like that, will be separate videos. So for this first one, I'm just going to show you how to do the blanket stitch and how to do it in a straight line. Okay, the most common size of blanket stitch I use is over 4 threads, so I'm going to do one over 4 threads in this video. 4 fabric threads is what I'm talking about. So to start the blanket stitch, first I'm going to work it left to right. People ask me which is right-handed, which is left-handed. I have a hard time with that one because I'm a left-handed stitcher who's learned from right-handed teachers, and a lot of times I stitch something the right-handed way with my left hand. So I'm just going to show you first left to right and second right to left. And you can use whichever version falls best for your hand. So obviously step number 1 is to come up to the front of your fabric. I'm using Pearl Cotton, Pearl 8. When I do a blanket stitch in Hardanger, Pearl Cotton is my most commonly used thread, at least for what I do. You can do it with any thread. Alright, so I have come up here. I'm going to go over 1 thread and down 4. Now I find it easiest to do blanket in a sewing motion rather than the stabbing. The stabbing is like when you go straight up and down. Sewing is when you go down and up in the same movement like I did here. So I'm putting 4 fabric threads on my needle. So I've gone down, counted up 4 threads and gone up. Where I come up is right next to where the thread is. Now the most important thing of a blanket is to, and I missed it. Alright, put your needle over the working thread. That's what makes the loop. The blanket stitch is a looped stitch, which means there's a loop at the top. And there you go. There's the one blanket stitch. And you can see how that stitch is connected and will pull into the next stitch. So again, and don't worry if these loops get in your way, train them out of the way like that. They'll pop right back into place when you do the second stitch. So I'm going down right next to the bottom of the first stitch, under 4 fabric threads, and up, right next to the top of the first stitch. Thread under the needle, or needle over the thread, however you want to think about it. Working, I like to keep my thread going upwards because that seems to keep my stitches in the best alignment. Again, for the next stitch, 4 fabric threads, thread under the needle, and coming up, and another one. Down right 1 thread over from the previous stitch, up 1 thread over from the previous stitch. Now I'll show you doing it without catching the thread, and you'll see a pretty big difference right away, because when I don't catch my thread, see how that there's no connection there. Nothing's connected. So you'll know pretty quickly if you do it wrong. Let me pop that back up and catch it. So if you do that and you don't catch it, pull it up, put your needle through that loop, and you'll catch your stitch. And now you can see it's connected. Alright, I'll do a couple more this direction and then I will start again and go the other direction. So the big thing is getting that thread under the needle. Everything's most commonly, or at least in Hardanger, under 4 threads. Sometimes you'll see them under 2 when it's used as a decorative thing. If it's a fabric edging or an edging on a Hardanger piece, it is usually over 4. But usually is not always. So that is it. Simply, you always come up, at least for this type, 1 fabric thread over 4 fabric threads, and like that. Okay, I will put this one down. And as you can see, the reason we call it a loop stitch is at the top here, there's all these loops. So if this were a Hardanger piece, then I would take it to my back, and this is what your back looks like. And then you would cut here and remove the excess fabric, and this would be the edging to your design. All right, let me grab another thread, and I'll show you going the other direction, going from right to left. At least for me, it's right to left. I think I've got my camera oriented so it will be right to left for you as well. But sometimes I get a surprise when I look at my videos. All right, I'm using an away waist knot to start, simply because it's the easiest way to start your first thread. In the next video, I will show you how to add a new thread and how to join things. And then I will talk to you more about starting and stopping the thread. This video is just intended to show you how to work the stitch. All right, so now working, for me as I'm looking at it, right to left. Hopefully it's the same for you. All right, so I again have come up to the front. I'm going to go over 1 fabric thread, down 4, go to the back, come to the front, 1 fabric over from my working thread, needle under the working thread, and pull through. Second stitch, 1 fabric thread over to go down, under 4 fabric threads, 1 fabric under to come up, thread under the needle, and up. And now we continue, and continue, and continue. As I say, if those loops get in your way, if you think I can't see what I'm doing here, just nudge it out of the way like that. It'll be fine. As soon as you put this stitch into place, it pops right back over. Whoops, got my first thread in the way. Oops, that's 5 fabric threads. Now with this stitch, because you have these loops at the top, sometimes you'll run into the problem where you tend to migrate slightly larger or smaller with your stitch. If you're having trouble seeing the length of your stitches, go to the back. There are no loops in back, so you can see real easily if you've made one stitch longer or shorter than the rest. Blanket stitch, looking at the back, is sometimes makes more sense than looking at the front. Work a few more here. In general, I think right-handers tend to go left to right, as I showed you first. Left-handers tend to go right to left, as I showed you second. But there's no hard and fast rule. You do whatever feels better, whichever direction feels better to you. Okay, so that is forming the basic blanket stitch. Now, if you want to see how to join new threads, that's going to be the next video, and I'll start it using this and going straight on from there. Thanks for watching.